It's showtime, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready? Are you ready? You better hide the wife. You better hide the children. Cause here we come. Up. Almost. Here we come. Hi, everybody. Hi. Welcome to 420 Live. I am your host, Jeff Kravitz. I forgot my glasses. How about that? Right off the throne. Starting the show today a little discombobulated. Oh, there we go. Now I can focus. Now I can see y'all. Welcome, everybody, to another adventure. Today is Tuesday, the 9th of June. Today is an election day in various states throughout our nation. If for some reason you're supposed to vote or you need to vote, please get out there and vote. I saw the lines in Georgia today. They were unbelievable. People waiting hours and hours to get out there to exercise their right to vote. Georgia's one of those states that likes to suppress their voters. We've seen their antics in the last governor's race, and everything's corrupt, folks. The deck is stacked against us, but we persevere. With various people. I hear this all the time. The Black Lives Matter, and now people are fighting back with All Lives Matter, which I think is one of the most ridiculous things I ever heard. And it's hard to understand what is going on out there right now. But you have a perfect storm. You have millions of Americans, tens of millions of Americans out of work right now. So people are sitting around wondering what to do next, wanting to go out there. The stuff that they're seeing on their television, these videos, more videos out today and yesterday of different police officers killing different people in the past year or two. That are now coming to light for the first time. The video today from Austin was just absolutely devastating. So we're now seeing more things coming to light about what's been going on in our society. So there's a lot to be mad about. And you have a lot of time to protest. People are out there. They're ready to go out. In Los Angeles on Sunday, we had one of the biggest protests I have ever seen in our city. And I'm going to show you this little video here off of Instagram that I saw. And I'm sure you've all seen this. Yakuza. This is a drone going down Hollywood Boulevard from Highland, which is where the Dolby Theater is, where they do the Oscars and the Chinese theaters every year, right down the street. And you can see that goes all the way to Vine, if not further. And this was this past Sunday. And I saw this video. I thought it was fake. I didn't even think it was real. I was blown away by what I was seeing. And it's hard to imagine, first of all, that many people in LA going out for a walk, because people in LA don't really, walking is not a thing here. So people aren't out there every day walking around. Everybody's in their cars all the time. And if you tell everybody to go out and get together and you're going to get 50,000 people together, whatever, most people would stay home on purpose just because there were going to be 50,000 people walking around the streets and we're at a park and all the logistics of trying to get into Hollywood, which is one of the reasons I wanted to pick our guest brain today. Ben Spivak from the band Magic is our guest today. And Ben has been out there at protesting on the daily, every chance he gets. He lives very close to the action. And we're going to have him come in here in a minute. And we're also going to talk. We're going to talk about some music. We're going to get back into a little bit of the distraction today. With Carl yesterday, I think we didn't talk for music 5 minutes out of an hour, which was absolutely incredible because, we all love Carl and his music. But like I said yesterday, we can find those interviews where Carl talks about music. But how many can you find out there where he's talking about what's happening right now, about history being before our very eyes? And probably one of the most amazing things about this is that we have a front row seat to history, that we're seeing what's happening out there in the big bad world. And it's kind of daunting and frightening. And at the same time, it's kind of liberating. You're seeing something come about. No, nothing concrete has been done. Everybody right now is just paying lip service about what they're going to do and how they're going to change their cities and how they're going to make it better. I haven't seen any concrete plans, but at least the tough talk's happening. We're probably making more headway now than we've ever made in our existence, where we're actually able to see, a difference. We can see what's going to happen with these police departments. And I saw an interesting thing about Camden and how way they disbanded their police department in 2012. They had and their instances of police brutality have dropped by 95%. So there are examples out there on how to do community policing correctly and to police with the community and not against them. And I think that we're all educating ourselves. If you would come on to my show 3 weeks ago, you would have thought I was an expert in epidemiology. And now I'm an expert in race relations and police brutality. Because you know what? We're all educating ourselves about all this stuff as it happens, because we see the news come in and we all get up on Google and we all start seeing what the difference is going to be. And we start trying to define what these people are talking about all these diseases and everything. And as you can see with the World Health Organization, one day coming out and saying that if you're asymptomatic, there's no way you're going to give it to someone. And then within less than 24 hours, they're out the next day contradicting what they say. So you can't trust what anybody's saying out there. Nobody is out there touting the truth, because nobody knows the truth. Nobody knows what's going on until there's a vaccine or some kind of way for us to fix it. But again, when you look at this video and you look at the proximity of the human beings, here, let me throw it up here again. You look at the proximity of the human beings in this video, there's no social distancing going on. People are hard pressed to find any place to even get a drink, I bet, in that situation. Anyway, my guest, Ben Spivak, let's bring him in because he was there. We'll hear what he has to say. Hello, Ben.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. It's great to hear everything you're saying about it, man. It was such a crazy day on Sunday. Couldn't have asked for a better day weather-wise, that's for sure. Sun was shining, spirits were high, and it was a good time,
What time did you get down there, and where did you start?
We started right by the Capitol building, right at Vine and just north of Hollywood, I guess.
And that's where they called this to originate, right? That was the address
to me. They said come down at 4:00 and bring your masks. And we did. Me and a group of friends, we went down. Yeah, and we started. Everyone just stood around. I guess they waited for people to gather, and then once we finally started walking down Hollywood Boulevard, suddenly you didn't really realize how many people were there until you were maybe halfway through it, and you suddenly looked around and realized, oh my God, this goes forever.
You got down there around 4 when it started?
Yeah. Just before that.
And how long was it before you guys started marching down Hollywood Boulevard?
Maybe 30 minutes, maybe about 4:30 is when we started marching.
So it wasn't that long.
Front. People might've been marching earlier, you know what I mean? But it's just such a big crowd to suddenly, it's like traffic, right? So it takes a minute before you actually start. But by the time I started walking, it was probably closer to 4:30. Yeah.
And all the streets were closed there. There were no cars trying to get down, were there? Or were they?
There were cars, like because you started on Vine making the left onto Hollywood. And when you did that, you saw cars coming south that I guess were just stuck. They just didn't really know what to do, I think.
How far did you make it down the boulevard? Did you make it all the way to the Chinese?
I got to about Highland, just short of the Chinese Theater. Yeah. And we were at Highland Boulevard, and by then it was like really crowded and really hot, and it was already 6:30 or something. And so we got out of there by then.
And were there staging areas where they were like protesting and stuff like that? Or were everybody just doing it everywhere?
Just everywhere. There were cars. There were people before the crowd started. There were people who somehow got their cars into the crowds. And most of the people with cars were handing out water and hand sanitizer and things. They were just kind of sitting on the roof of their car for people to walk by, and they'd hand them out snacks and whatever people needed.
So because there's no stores open, right?
No, nothing was. I don't want to say nothing, but probably 90% of the stores weren't open.
And so this is my big question. 50,000 people on Hollywood Boulevard for hours. Where's everybody going to the bathroom?
Look, for 2.5 hours, you just got to hold it in,
Is that really what it is? I mean, people weren't going down alleys and stuff.
Made sure to go to the bathroom, made sure to eat a good meal before we went out there, made sure to stock up on water and sunscreen. Like you're going to a fish show, you just do what you got to do.
Yeah, but in fish show, you can always score something in the lot.
Hey, man, there was, I can't say there wasn't a lot seen. There was a vibe. There was a vibe. There were similarities for sure.
There's a what do you a protest economy, like a protest shakedown street kind of thing.
Yeah, nobody was quite selling T-shirts. In fact, everyone was giving stuff away. People were giving away waters and masks and things like that. So,
I mean, has that been anything you've ever seen in your life on the streets of LA like that?
absolutely not. Definitely not in the streets of LA. Not even in the streets of Toronto where I grew up. You don't see quite like that. Like the variety of people, for lack of a better word. Like there was all races, all ages. Everyone was there. I mean, there were children there. There were elder people there and whatnot, and everyone had everyone was on the same page with it, which was really, really lovely.
Well, I noticed that like last week in the probably halfway through the riots, we're on day 15 today of the protests.
Wow.
I don't know if you know that, but
I figured it must be 2 or 3 weeks in. Yeah.
15 days of people have been protesting. And the list you sent me today, or I saw on your Instagram of the protests that were scheduled for today, and it was 2 pages, and there were like 6 events per page. Yeah. So people are out there all day, all night.
All parts of LA too. They're covering everywhere from Highland Park to Santa Monica, everywhere in between.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like the kind of organization going on for this right now. And this was a BLM protest. And one thing my daughter Kiki told me was that anything that has BLM attached to it that they're behind gets a huge turnout.
Which, by the way, was news to me on Sunday.
You didn't know.
Some friends told me about it, and I kept an eye on things, but they were like, yo, we're going down Sunday. Come check it out. And I did not expect. The last number I heard was 20,000. You're saying 50,000. I mean,
yeah, on TMZ today, they said 50,000. When you look at that boulevard and you think about a mile of people from sidewalk or from shop to shop. Mm-hmm. So what I was about to say was about halfway back in this thing, about 7 or 8 days ago, the rioting kind of stopped. The looting kind of stopped. The burning kind of stopped. Like that was hot in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And now it's all been peaceful. Was that your experience?
Sunday was super peaceful. Yeah. Everyone was really peaceful. There were kind of cops like further out, but definitely not in the sort of zone where everything was happening. Like once you got out of the crowd and walked a few blocks, you'd see some cops waiting around. But generally speaking, it was just, we were all there. We were all peaceful. We were all just wanting to be there to speak our mind and support however we can and let the world know that this is some real shit that's got to change, So
the police didn't have any kind of line on the street like they're doing in Seattle or
nothing like that. And in fact, when there was the looting and the violence and the police with their insane levels of brutality and things, I compared it to like Toronto had this big protest with like a lot, maybe 5,000 people walking down the street. And they had police who were kind of leading it, who were making sure it was peaceful and cool. And I was saying, look, they can do it there. We can do it here. And sure enough, Sunday came around and we showed that we can do it. We can keep it peaceful. People, there wasn't a lot of space, but nobody was like, banging into each other. Everyone was kind of aware of the situation, which is that we happen to be going through a global pandemic.
Did everybody have their masks on, and were people trying to keep space, or it's impossible?
Both. It was impossible, but people were trying. As far as wearing the masks, yeah, I'd say 95% of people were wearing the mask. The few that weren't, man, I'll tell you what drives me nuts is the mask around their chins. You see people walking around with their masks. It's like, it doesn't work that way. Not how it works. Not doing anyone any favors. And also people were cheering anything, no justice, no peace, right? And so you'd have the call and response. And the people that were calling, I saw some people taking off the mask to sort of yell, which is like the wrong technique. Let me just put that out there.
Here, like we have a couple of your vids here.
Yeah, here we go. I mean, this is us actually, everyone kneeling, which was a nice moment. Everyone just stopped and took a knee, and it was a quiet moment for the most part. Yeah. It's a powerful moment, when all those people are chanting the same thing at the same time. There's something really powerful about hearing that many voices.
Also more interesting is when you see all those people together being completely quiet.
Yeah, right.
That's a total wow.
It happened real quick too. I didn't even hear someone say kneel. Everyone just started kneeling, and we got down. And and I guess not a lot of people put out their phones either, but I did. I took that opportunity.
Of course.
Yeah. But you see all the signs, like there's so many signs, so much support coming from.
Yeah, it looked to me like everybody had a sign in their hands.
Everybody had a sign. My sign, one side said Black Lives Matter, the other side said Stop Police Brutality. For me, that's such a huge issue. It's so dumb to be scared of police, like because
they're just it's all backwards.
It's all back.
I cannot believe the baton swinging I've seen the past week. It's like tripping back to the 60s. These cops with these helmets on, swinging batons at kids, white, black, brown, yellow, green. They did not care what color they were.
Rubber bullets, and that poor old guy in Buffalo that got pushed over.
Oh, you saw our fearless leader's tweet, what he said today, right?
He said he was Antifa or something.
Yeah, our president today said that the 75-year-old was scanning the police equipment, had a thing in his hand to scan their equipment, and they pushed him. He was a member of Antifa, and he fell harder than he needed to.
I wish I knew what his name was, but I did do a little research, and he was the complete opposite of that. You know,
absolutely.
Right? He's a community. He's like a hero in the community. He's always trying for equality for everyone and stepping up. And he's an old guy, and he knew it was risky to walk up to the police, and he did it anyway. And man, it's just brutal.
Is that hard for you to know that you have a leader that is so sane and so and to watch our leader be such a buffoon out there talking about stuff? There's no reason he had to talk about that guy. George Floyd got buried today. There were other things he could have focused on that would have showed he was compassionate, and instead he hasn't
done a thing to represent unity, to bring unity to the country, which is what we need more than ever, is to show that we are all equal, that Black Lives Matter, and that you know, we're all on the same page, but clearly we're not.
No, we are definitely in a different scenario here. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up another now this picture, it looks to me like that's Highland right there. You're facing
this is actually facing north. This is after, so we'd come off Highland, and I just took one last picture before we kind of left, but that's the crowd there at Hollywood and Highland. Exactly. You see the dinosaur on the roof of the Ripley's with the mask.
Oh yeah, there. Oh, I see. You're actually on Highland here.
Yeah, I'm on Highland.
I'm looking north. Yeah, there's the church. Yeah. There's the Hollywood. Yes, I see it.
There you go. That was the vibe the whole time. You see everyone, no one's banging into each other. Everyone has a little space around them. They're holding up their signs.
And that's about the speed everybody went.
Oh, that's the speed. Yeah.
So was it about 3 hours you were out there?
Yeah, about 2.5 hours to go from Hollywood and Vine to Hollywood and Highland. Yeah. I mean, that sign, actually, I wanted to get a video of that sign. It says, I was 10 years old when they murdered Emmett Till. And the other side of that person's sign said, I've been marching since 1967. And right? It's like so much has happened since then, and yet nothing has changed.
No, you know what?
Yeah.
Wow, the sign right in front of yours right there. That was right in your face.
Yeah.
Oh, look at these little guys here.
Like, how do you
I am not a thug.
Right.
Come on.
Right. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that, you know.
And pretty fitting right in front of the Alec Baldwin star too.
Well, he's been kind of a small hero, right? Getting in front of national TV every week, just like Trump.
He's been amazing. Oh, so this is the start right in the Capitol.
That's the start. What you can see on the top of the I'm pointing, not that makes a difference, but what you can see at the top of the Capitol buildings, Capitol Records building, is they actually were waving a Black Lives Matter flag.
Oh wow! Hold on,
they put up. So if you go back to the beginning of that, you can.
I can see right there. You're talking about.
That's it up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
The iconic building there to be flying a flag.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
We're back to the moment.
Unprecedented. I mean, the level of, and to know that it's global, it makes such a difference. Every state, so many countries are doing this every single day. Like, I don't think it's ever quite been like that because you just didn't have the organization capabilities, you know, like you do now. You just send
one tweet and you can mobilize the whole planet.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad that the organizers of Black Lives Matter have sort of figured out how to do that in an effective way, and they're spreading the word and doing a good thing.
And now the protesting without the violence and without the rioting and the looting is so much more effective because you're getting the message across. because the other stuff that cuts into the noise. I understand how people are, why people have done it and what the rationalization is. I saw some incredible videos about why people riot and loot. That I'm like, okay, it makes a lot of sense. I couldn't personally do that, but I understand why someone else would feel that they've been on the wrong side of justice for way too long, and this is the way we're going to strike out. But it's so much more effective to get the message across with peace and with peaceful protest and with common sense and love and compassion.
Oh, tell me about it. I was actually having an interesting conversation with someone who said, you think, oh, wouldn't it have been cool to be around in the 60s and be able to get out and fight for something? But the fact is, when you're doing it, you're angry. Like, you're not like excited to be there. You're like pissed off and like something's got to happen now because it's just not right. It's just not right.
Well, something definitely is going to happen. I mean, there's no way. I don't see this stuff stopping. Do you? I mean, no. It's not like everybody's going to work tomorrow and everybody's going to be like, oh, I got to go in. And people making more money on unemployment.
It is kind of a perfect storm in that sense, isn't it? Like, because nobody's got anything to do and suddenly this happens. It's like, now is the time.
Right. And not only that, people are making more money on unemployment than they were making when they were working. So they're going to try to ride their benefits out in some cases so they can stay getting money, and then so they can protest. You're unemployed.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. People got more time now than they have before, and they're looking to do something meaningful with it. And this is it. This is priority one right now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Let's talk a little bit about your music career and your life as a musician. What have you been doing for the past 3 months before all protesting?
Well, with my band Magic, all the gigs got canceled for the summer. So
you guys had a tour planned?
We just like festivals and things. It wasn't a tour, but it was going to be some weekend getaways, as I call them, and they were going to be fun. I think there were some festivals that have basically they just said, "Hey, will you come back in 2021?" And so we said, "Sure, yeah, we'll do that." But in the meantime, we're working on. We'd kind of wanted to take some time off anyway from the band, and everyone's kind of working on solo music right now, and I've been doing the same and. It's really interesting, actually, because when the four of us come together and have this sort of very focused view on what the music should sound like, but then the four of us go off to do our own thing, it's like completely different what everyone's doing, which is really cool. It's been good to be able to focus on some other things for a minute.
Well, of course. And what's your solo projects like?
Well, so Mark, the guitar player, is a very soul throwback kind of a vibe. And he's got some things that you can find online under his name, Mark Pelly. And Alex is the drummer, and he's going for more of like a Radiohead James Blake vibe. I always get James Blunt and James Blake confused, but I think I'm right. James Blake.
Yes.
Yeah, which I love that too. Nasri, the singer, is going for a bit more of the pop thing, just straight ahead pop. That's his thing. He's been a songwriter for the Biebers and the I don't know, all the big names. He's written for all of them.
He writes the hits.
Yeah, exactly. So
he's your hit guy, and you guys are the artists, and he's the hit guy.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, look, we all balance each other. He's ready to go pop, 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 and you sometimes we just need to bring him down to earth. Like, this is more of a reggae vibe. Like, let's keep it in the world.
Well, you're a huge jam band fan. I know you're a huge Fish head, and
So my solo project is more like. I call it like the Rolling Stones meets the Grateful Dead, because you have like these bluesy kind of riff-based songs, but then you have sections where they just go and anything can happen, and I have no control over it.
Well, you love it. Well, that's the best stuff because you're just creating on the fly.
It is the best stuff. And the guys in my band who have gotten together are such amazing musicians who don't necessarily know the jam world so well, but all I have to say is, guys, these songs don't have endings. That was literally my first rehearsal with them. I said, you've all learned the songs. They all fade out at the end. There's no endings, and there's no stopping. So here's the set list. Let's go. Or some shows I don't have set lists. I just go for it. I said, I'm calling guys, pay attention. And they're like, so it's a bit new for them, but they're such amazing musicians that they fall in right away and they get it. And it's been a lot of fun. And I had some gigs for that book this summer too, around LA and Southern California, which had to get canceled.
Are you guys still trying to play? Still trying to get together?
We've kind of been on hold. Some of the guys are just in situations where they just need to be very safe right now. So we haven't really been able to jam.
They have families and kids and things of that nature?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, just looking out for the people around them. So we've put it on hold, but everyone's excited. We're all staying in touch on text, and we want to get it rolling once we can, because I've basically been sitting here writing more songs that need to be jammed.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
people are starting to get at it. Spafford played a couple weeks ago at a drive-in.
I love that.
Humphreys, McGee, those guys, they just shared a little tidbit of them woodshedding literally in Jake's backyard in his
Oh, no
studio.
kidding.
And they're going to do 2 shows the next 2 nights.
Okay. And I
And
saw Jason
not
Isbell did a thing at the Brooklyn Bowl in Nashville, and is it
right.
Billy Strings who's about to do like 9 shows or something?
Yeah, and I know that the guys from Twiddle have like 20 shows booked this summer where that they're going to do at different locations. I mean, everybody's trying to figure out some way to work. I mean, I would just like to get in a room and play guitar with a bunch of guys, but everybody's also paranoid.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
I'm like, come on, guys. None of us are sick.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, it's such a weird time, right? You don't know if it's better to be safe or better to just go out and do everything while you can, or you got to find that balance, I think.
Yeah, well, it's hard. And is Magic looking to do anything next year, or they don't know? Just
next year we're going to pick it up. Like I said, we were always planning on 2020 to be a bit of a slowdown year for us, because we put out an album at the end of 2018 and we toured for 2019, and we said 2020 we're all going to kind of do our own thing, and then 21 pick it back up. So no specific plans other than, like I said, some of the gigs that were planned this summer have been postponed to next summer. I should have done research to let you know which gigs those were, but I can't.
That's all right. I mean, it'll all come out in time.
It'll all come out in time. Yeah, but when as soon as we're able to gig, even in small clubs, I was booked to play at the Satellite in Silver Lake, right near where I live, and I was booked to play at. I was trying to get Hotel Cafe down, and some of those kinds of gigs, which I love playing. I really love that stuff, so I can't wait to.
Well, those little venues are so nice. I mean, they're
so nice. Yeah.
So steeped in history. You hear Jordan Sheldon wants to know, we be playing any Ben and Aubrey?
Wow. See, my old friends, they like to creep in there. Yeah, Ben and Aubrey was like an old acoustic duo thing I had with my good friend Aubrey. We had the creative juices were flowing when we named that band. Let me tell you.
Ben and Aubrey.
No, we don't. I don't play those songs. I don't even remember those songs anymore. That's 20 years ago. Thanks.
Well, and then you played with Danny Cantor back in the day.
Yeah, we did. We played with we were in a band with my friend Matthew Genovese, who lives here in LA now too. But yeah, there was a time when me and Dan and his friend Matt Ross and Matt Genovese and a few other people kind of came and went. Yeah.
When did you move to the States?
January 2013.
The rest
about 35 years ago now, I think. Right?
Wow. So your folks brought you over, right?
My folks, what's that?
Your folks brought you, or you came by yourself?
Oh no, I just hopped on a plane and came.
You were out.
Yeah, I was out. I was ready to go. Yeah.
Wait, you're saying 35 years ago you came here?
No. I'm saying December 2013, which now feels like it was 35 years ago.
Say, you don't look that old. I'm trying to do the math.
It was about 6.5 years ago, I guess. And so I came and stayed with some family, right, actually in Brentwood, right near you, right up Mandeville Canyon there.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And then eventually was able to afford my own place. Actually, at one point, the Magic guys, we had our own house. We were living in a house together in North Hollywood. The 4 of us were crammed into this house.
How did you guys find each other? Were you all from Canada?
Yeah, we're all from Toronto, but it's kind of funny how it happened. So Mark, the guitar player, was kind of the glue. He had met Nasri, the singer, and Nasri was already living in LA, but he's from Toronto. But Mark flew out to LA to work with Nasri and do some things. And they did. They wrote a song for Chris Brown called Please Don't Judge Me, and they managed to knock out some songs during that time. And then they started working on some music that didn't really seem to have a home. And they said, oh, we should start a band together. And Mark said, well, I've got the drummer and the bass player for you. And then, who, by the way, was not me. They started working on some music and got maybe a third of that first album was done with those guys. And then the bass player kind of just up and quit. He had some other plans. I don't really know what that was about. And I happened to be basically standing there when it happened. So it was a big case of right place, right time. But Mark I'd known for a while, and he'd been saying, yo, check out this music we're working on. And so I joined pretty early on, and we kept moving, kept working on music, and it's been a really wild ride. Sorry for the cliche, but it's been
What
crazy.
was it like to have that radio hit, that elusive song
Yeah,
that
I mean,
makes
listen,
you
when
a
I moved to
fucking
LA,
hot number?
yeah, when I moved to LA, I thought I was going to be more of like a session guy, you know, maybe a bit of like a Dan Cantor type who gets hired out by different people to do different gigs, and he's able to kind of put on all these different hats and do whatever he needs. I didn't think I was going to like join a band and do it like that. Super grateful and thankful that it happened that way. It was crazy because we would just be, I was sleeping on a mattress in a living room in North Hollywood when suddenly we get an email or a call saying we're flying to Australia next week because our song is #2 in the country. And I was like, okay, cool, let's go. And it really happened that quickly. So I remember we were in Australia in December 2013. By February 2014, we had some sold out shows in Canada. And by July of 2014, we had the #1 song in the country and in 40 other countries, by the way. So,
And then you're on every TV show and every
TV show. It was a really, really wild ride. I do try to keep grounded in those situations. I don't, you know,
but it's impossible when that many people are blowing smoke up your ass at the same time. It's absolutely impossible to keep your head on straight. I don't care how sane you are.
Yeah, there's probably truth to that. I mean, weed is really helpful for that.
Yeah, of course, it's a great equalizer, but still, you just start thinking. I can see what happens because everybody builds everybody up when they're in that position. Oh my God, you guys are the greatest. We love your song. Blah, blah, blah. And it's
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Listen, if you're like a solo artist, if you are like a Justin Bieber or someone and everyone's coming to you, that could be one thing. But being with the band and sort of spreading that between the four of us, I think helped a bit because you can't just say, like, none of us can be like, oh, it was all me. It wasn't. It was the four of us. And it was like, you know, different percentages of whatever people contributed. Doesn't even matter. But, you know, so when someone says, oh, I love your song, like, I take that, you know, sort of on behalf of all of us. I don't just sit there and go, oh, they love me, you know. I'm the bass player.
Well, it also depends how fragile of an ego you have too.
Well, that's it. And if you're going to be a bass player, you can't have a fragile ego.
No, you're already short of 2 strings to begin with.
Exactly. I have my 4 strings and I'm proud of them.
Do you play the 5 string or the 6 string at all? You got a modulus hanging out?
I've dabbled. I've dipped my toe in, but I don't, you know, we already have enough O'Teals in the world and enough, you know, I like my 4 strings. I feel like you spend more time with each string and find new ways of saying things. Whereas if you had 6 strings sounds like, I mean, I play a bit of guitar too, but as far as 6 strings bass goes, that's a lot of strings. It's a lot of strings.
It's just a lot of the same note over and over and over and over again.
Exactly. And only guys like O'Teal know how to do that. Like I even argue, does Phil really need 6 strings? I don't know.
Well, is it because it gives you more low end? There's another top string?
Well, on a 6 string, you have 1 more low string and 1 more high string. So you have the low B string, which gets down to a frequency that you can almost not really hear.
Right.
And then you have the high C string where you're getting up into guitar territory.
Right.
And like, I'm happy. Like, I got my 4. Like, you know, I'm not picky.
So what has been the biggest revelation you had over the past? Because you've been alone now for a long time. All your plans are different. You're now like an official homebody like everybody else in the world. I have nothing booked anywhere. And what's the biggest
a revelation? That's a good question. I'm trying to write songs. I'm trying to come up with lyrics that have these big revelatory things, but it's more just a feeling. It's just more this feeling of, you know, I'm trying to get out of the cliches, but the feeling of being alone together and all that stuff, you know, I think it's real, you know, this feeling of like, okay, I'm hiding, but I'm doing it for everyone and with everyone. And so there is a sort of communal feeling. And when you go out and you see people wearing masks, I don't know, initially, like, I didn't like the idea of masks because it's like, well, you're separating, you're hiding. And that to me felt like had a very negative vibe to it. But I think, you know, pretty quickly realize, oh, we're doing it for each other. We're doing it for the community and we're doing it for our health. And it's important that, and honestly, I think, not to keep bringing it back to this, but I think it's that same attitude that's been brought into the Black Lives Matter and everything going on, is this feeling of like, we only have each other. Like, sure, there's 7.5 billion of us, but like, also that's it. Like, we only have each other. And if people are only looking out for themselves, and if people are, spreading out, tax rates in a way that benefits certain people and not others, and if people are, throwing trash out of their car, then that's really not cool for the other people around you. And so we're in a time where I think people are realizing that it's important to really consider your neighbors and the people around you, and how you're acting and thinking and behaving, I guess.
And also trying to think without prejudice, which I think is one of the hardest things to do. I mean, did you find, was there a lot of racial tension in Toronto growing up?
You know what? From my experience, the answer would be no. But in the last couple of weeks, I've definitely been doing a lot of research to get a bit more of what's really going on with racism in Canada. And it's not a happy story, when you look at that as well. There were, I think, something like 3,000 African people who were enslaved in the United States back between the 1600s and the 1800s. They were brought to Canada for the purposes of being slaves. They were sold to Canadians. So we have a very similar history as far as that goes. Some of it, there was the Slavery Abolition Act, which came into law in 1834, which is before the Civil War even started. But also there's the Métis people, the Indigenous people in Canada, who were treated horribly for hundreds of years. They were sent to residential schools where they'd be pulled away from their families to go to schools where they're not allowed to speak their Indigenous language. They could only speak English or French, and they could only be taught, those kinds of things. And they took their culture out of these children, basically, or took the culture out of the children.
Well, it sounds like the same thing we did to the Indians.
Yeah, it's the same kind of vibe. Exactly. It's the same sort of thing.
All the people that were here first got a really hard ride first. I mean, that was the first racism in America. Right. They paid their millions of dollars they spent hiring people to go kill the Indians.
That's a great point. Totally.
So it's unbelievable what we thought was okay back then and how we rationalized it. Basically we got a huge learning experience happening now for the whole world. I see right here, Mr. Billy Idol. Hi, Billy. Thanks for tuning in. I'm a big fan. If you think by protesting is going to change things, then you're dreaming. I don't think protesting is about changing things. I think protesting is about bringing attention to things.
But also it is changing things. I mean, it is like.
Well, I think what he was talking about was when I was talking about how the mayors, things are not changing, that they're all paying lip service right now, but nothing's really changed structurally in the way that these police departments operate or what they're told to do. I mean, we have a long way to go, but this is the genesis of this whole movement is happening right now in a way that I've never seen it coalesce ever before.
Exactly. Yeah, I think there has been. Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. It's a lot of lip service, but I think there is some change, which is going to breed more change, and more change.
Well, I would hope the main thing is that we start changing as a people and enlightening our friends that don't understand why it's not all lives matter, which is a constant argument I see happening on the internet right now, with people arguing with people right out on the street about why it's Black Lives Matter and not all lives matter. And
I mean, the simple response to that is all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter.
Right. But it's still, people can't wrap their heads around it because they've been so systematically racial. You might be a racist and not even know it.
You know what? That's really interesting. I've had to look deep at that in myself and see if I'd done certain things or I'd benefit. I mean, look, Magic's a reggae band.
Right.
That's not white people who invented that. That's Black people's music, and we kind of have taken it and turned it into whatever we did with it. Turn it into the Chris Sandwich of music, if you will.
Of course. Well, Magic is heavily influenced by reggae. It's got a
listen, I can't think of any musician who can't say that they're not influenced by Black musicians and Black artists. I mean,
oh no, absolutely. We wouldn't have music. I mean, music started in Congo Square in New Orleans from the slaves. I mean, that's where it all gestated from. So there's so many things we wouldn't have without the Black community that it's astounding, and it's just amazing. We've kept them under our thumb for as long as we have. And yes, I know the protest itself is not going to change anything, but it's making people aware. And the protests aren't stopping. I mean, today was another 10 protests. Tomorrow, I'm sure it's the same thing. I mean,
there'll be pages of protests again tomorrow, I'm sure. Like this idea that protests aren't going to change things. No, it has changed things. Look, I've been having more conversations about racism with white people than I've ever had before. Like, I've talked about it with some Black friends, and they have usually that involves my eyes being opened.
Of course,
conversations with other white people about like, well, what are we doing? How are we benefiting off this systematic racism that we're all hearing about? And simple things like I can be walking home at 2 a.m. and not worry about it, and
or walk into a shop and not have somebody think you're stealing, or
drive my car
get pulled over by a cop who doesn't think you're guilty or want to kick the shit out of you.
Exactly.
There's a lot of things that come with white privilege that we don't understand because we're on the receiving end of the privilege, So it's when people say empathize or put yourself in someone else's shoes, it is so hard for us to imagine what that's like, Right. I mean, I get the tall guy. I mean, if I want to relate to anything that I get is whenever I walk into a concert or anything and I walk up and I stand in front of someone like, dude, you're so tall. You're blocking my view.
Well, and you are the guy that's going to stand in front of me at a show too, because I always make the joke. I'm like, look, I'm 6'2", but somehow the guy in front of me is always 6'3". And I know one day it's going to be you.
One day. I'll stand next to you. No problem.
That's so charitable. Thank you.
All right. Gazzy wants to know your favorite Magic song. Do you have a favorite
Magic song? Oh, that's a great question. Thanks, Gazelle. We have a song called Kiss Me, which is like, I know it's not cool to say that one of your singles is one of your favorites, but Kiss Me is a great song. It's super cool and groovy. And like, we kind of jam it out a little bit when we play it live too. So I like that one. I recommend that one.
Can you really jam it out when you're playing like a radio show or one of your shows? Because you have so many songs to get to.
You can have some fun. You can have fun. Look, the musicians in the band are incredible musicians. And we have the ability to do anything really musically. Like I feel very confident with this group of guys as far as like anything we can think of. It's just more a matter of who's the audience we're playing for, what's the purpose of the show, but when they come to us and they say, hey, can you play a 90-minute set? Yeah, we'll stretch some stuff out. Sure, we'll have a little fun. Why not?
Yeah, I'm sure that's just getting your appetite wet too to really go for it.
That's why, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, one thing about doing my own solo band is that it is kind of the opposite of playing in sort of a pop band. I get to go on stage. I'm not worried about, they'll want to hear this song. They won't want to hear it. Doesn't matter. They're all my songs.
Right.
We're going to play them as long or short as we want, so I do enjoy that. I enjoy both sides of it, actually. Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of fun, and you're lucky to be able to call yourself a musician, just like I'm lucky to call myself a photographer, or at least I was lucky to call myself a photographer. I don't know what the future's holding for me.
Now you're a podcast host. See? Since day one, that first one with it was Stuart, wasn't it, on the first episode?
Stuart was my first big one, and
amazing. I couldn't believe it. And then you had Tommy Chong on, and I'm honored to be on that list.
Well, thank you, Ben. You're a good friend of mine. You've been a really big supporter, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing a little bit of your light and what's going on in your life and what's with Magic, as well as what you've witnessed. What's your next demo? Do you have one planned? I know today's way too hot to be out there on the streets.
Yeah, it's hot. There is a big one happening on Sunday. I think I'm not sure if it's who's organizing it. I think it's because Sunday was supposed to be the Pride Parade, I believe.
Right, like they pretty much canceled Pride Month this month.
Right, they've basically done that. But I do believe there's a big one happening Sunday, which I think my own personal guess is that it'll be bigger than last Sunday.
So let me guess: West Hollywood, Santa Monica Boulevard. I
think it's going from Hollywood to West Hollywood.
Yeah, that's probably going to be like.
I'll definitely. I should have looked this up before, but I'll post it on my Instagram, and so if people are interested, they can go see where it's happening and go check it out, man. I highly recommend people go to protest because you see the power behind it, and some people saying, "Well, it's not going to change things." I disagree. I think it is going to change things. I would just say drink lots of water, wear a bunch of sunscreen, wear the mask over the face. Take your mask, make sure it covers this part here, not this part. right? Not this part, right? People with their nose hanging out of the mask. Stop that. Cover it up. Cover yourself.
So, I wore one to the market yesterday, and I guess my wife's been making a bunch of them. And the one I picked out had was so hard to breathe through. And I'm walking through the market going,
yeah. Hey, listen, after 2 hours of that in the hot sun on Sunday, I was doing one of those too, but very selectively and carefully. Like overall, just be aware of, right? Because the concept of the mask is that you're protecting the other people. It's not protecting you, it's protecting the people around you. So just be aware of that in this time when we're looking out for other people. Make sure you're looking out for other people.
Yeah.
You know?
Good advice. Well, thanks, buddy. I look forward to hanging soon. It's going to be a while.
Absolutely, man. Can't wait.
The band I took you to see in Silver Lake is going to be my guests on Monday, the Gooms. And I think we're going to do a little show out by my pool. So it'll be my first live musical act on Monday.
Well, I love that.
So
I can't wait. I'm going to come jump in your pool the second I can, man.
You're welcome anytime. We're allowing select visitors. We take your temperature. It's a rectal thermometer. That's the only rub with it.
I wouldn't have any other way.
Thanks for catching us up on what's going on out there.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good one.
All right, buddy. You too.
Thanks, Ben. Ben Spivak from Magic. Oh, it's magic. Thank you, Trevor. Great show today. Thank you, Ben. Going to check out your music. Thank you, Jeff, for opening my ears. You know, that's what we're doing. That's what we got going on tomorrow. DJ Logic is going to come on. We might have the guys from Humphreys coming on to tell us about their two nights of music coming up. They're going to do webcasts from back in Jake's studio in the back of their Jake's house. He's got this really cool studio. On their Instagram today, they did a little walkthrough. Looked very cool. It's nice to see our heroes getting together again, ready to rock us and to give us something new to listen to. It's been very frustrating. It's fun catching up on all this stuff and all this music. It's time to creatively catch your breath on all the music that's been out there that you've missed all these years, all the stuff you've turned your ears off to. The movies, TV shows. It's a very interesting time to catch up. It is so hot today in LA. I have the AC on in here. I'm chugging the water. I'm schwitzing. I feel like I'm out of my element. It's so hot and bright and sunny. We have the Santa Anas blowing here in California. You know, it's been absolutely astounding to have a front row seat to history this past couple weeks. And we're getting into the little distraction. Tomorrow, we're going to get into some more distraction with DJ Logic and the Humphreys guys. Thursday, we have Turquoise coming in to talk about The Rock. This picture right there is Mike McCready from Pearl Jam, one of my favorite shots. Mike is jumping in the air at 2007 at Pauley Pavilion for the Who. They did a Pearl Jam played a Who tribute. So, and that's Prince right there in the Purple Rain at the Super Bowl. It was Prince's birthday the other day. There's no one we miss more than Prince out there in the world, folks. He's a legend. We all wish he was here rocking us out right now. You know, I appreciate everybody coming in, tuning in on the daily with us here at 420 Live for your daily dose. We're getting back in the swing of the daily show. Not being those 3 days off in the middle of the week last week, watching history unfold in front of us, and every night as we tune in on our TVs and we see what's happened again, it's a colossal load of distraction out there, folks. When you see what our president's talking about, when you hear how he's trying to distract us with calling this guy, this old man, a member of Antifa. I mean, what does that have to do with anything? Why even comment about it? What is it you're trying to prove? That you're an idiot or that you're just trying to distract us? We're on to you, Trump. Rump, flump, dump, hump, mump, crump. We know what's going on. We're going to take care of you come November. Don't you worry. Me and all my friends. Everybody out there, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We will see you tomorrow with DJ Logic. Peace, love, happiness. I love the change order. Here's the hug. Oh, we will see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks to Ben Spivak for coming in. Get out there and protest. Wear comfortable shoes. And I would take Depends. Like, I'm an old guy. Ben's saying he lasted 2.5 hours without taking a pee. I'm sorry. 58, it doesn't work like that anymore. I wish I had it. You know what? I've trained myself to get through 1 hour of a fish set without having to go to the bathroom. That's pretty much where I'm at. You drink just enough to be able to last for an hour and a half. 2.5 hours, I'd be lost. I'd be like, okay, where's McDonald's? And I know people had to pee out there, and I'm wondering where everybody went. I'm going to find someone who was peeing in an alley somewhere out there. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in today. It's great having you all here. Hugs to you all. Love you. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Same bad time.